Hello and welcome back to the Naked Railway. This video will be the first in a mini-series focusing on the various types of loco that will run on the layout, and this episode will be featuring the BR Derby Type 2. Just to give some context before we start, the result of the BR's modernisation plan, produced in 54-55, highlighted the need to reduce losses, which meant the elimination of steam and the wholesale introduction of diesel locos. And part of that was just as they had done with steam beforehand, the categorisation of locos into different power bands. So I think they originally started with 4 different types. The first type was up to 1,000 horsepower. Type 2 was up to 1,500 horsepower, and so on. And I think it went up to 3,000 horsepower at that time. And this loco at 1,160 horsepower when it was introduced just falls into the Type 2 category. Many loco companies tendered designs for the various types of loco classified, including BR themselves. Their Derby office submitted this design, hence why this is called the BR Derby Type 2. I'm not sure if it had an official name, but is also known as the Derby Sulzer, because Sulzer, the engine manufacturer. 151 locos were built from 1958 to 1961 in 3 different factories. So with a career lasting from 58 to, I think the last was withdrawn in about 1980, has the potential for a huge variety of detail differences. But as we are focusing on this layout, on the early part of their career, particularly the first 40 or 50 locos, they are pretty much as built. The models I'll be using are all made by Bachmann, and they're the first generation of their Class 24 models. So they're pretty old. This is catalogue number 32426, and I also have 2 32429s, which are exactly the same model, but with small yellow panels. Yeah, they were produced in 2001, which makes them quite old, but they're still quite well detailed for their age. But for my period, they are incorrect, particularly in the roof area. I'll show you that in a second. But just for the sake of orientation, the number 1 end is the one with the roof fan, and you can also easily differentiate between sides, apart from obviously the radiator frost screens. But the battery isolation switch cover is on one side and not on the other. So let's now take a look at the roof in detail to see what we're going to have to change to backdate this to a 1960 loco. So starting with the roof and at number 1 end, the cooling group section is fine. I think the cowl on the radiator fan is a bit too pronounced, but otherwise it's fine as it is. The same can be said with the engine compartment. That's okay. A little too pronounced, but that's fine. And now we're coming to the section where we have quite a few differences between this loco or this model and the era of locos that I want to model, which is the production versions. This loco has an exhaust modification. So due to fires reported in early 60s, the exhaust port and the silencer was moved from here, and the whole silencer section was eliminated completely, and it comes straight out of the engine now. So they had to put a new exhaust port in, which is obviously too late for the period that I model. So I will have to eliminate that exhaust port and put a new one in its original location. Secondly, the water fillers originally had covers on them, but they either fell off or were removed for inconvenience. So I have 3 locos, and I'd like to put the water covers on 2 of them and maybe leave 1 with them uncovered. From about 1960 or so till about 1963, about 50% of the locos still had their covers, and that declined quite rapidly after about 63 until eventually I think almost all of them had their covers removed. And while we're on this area, it also had raised panels. So it had a raised panel over the exhaust section, and 2 raised panels in this area here. So I'm going to have to put those on. And finally, the generator, compressor, and boiler room area is largely okay. This is this is the boiler vent, and I mean it's okay, but it's quite pronounced. It wasn't that pronounced on the real loco. And this is the an air circulation vent, and it was a variable vent on the real loco, but on this one it's it's a fixed height, which is barely open. So I may remove that and have all of my locos just slightly a slight variation in the vent opening. And finally, while we're on the roof, the cab vents, which you can barely see, are rectangular when they should be square. And also there's they look very open on the real loco, but they're because of the moulding technique, they're quite close. So I may drill those out and put an etched grill on them. Some locos had these 4 vents sheeted over, particularly in Scotland, but also in East Anglia. So again, I may introduce some variation in having a couple with vents and one with the vents sheeted over. Moving on to the body sides, they're generally okay. I think that the screens are too pronounced generally. So it's possible I may remove them and put some etched panels on. And sometimes I think these footsteps are not deep enough, and sometimes I think they're okay. So I'll have to decide on that when I come to it. Another feature I'm not keen on this model is the pretty crude representation of the battery boxes, the water and fuel tanks. They look like a one solid mass on this old model, when they should look like three separate independent things. So I may 3D print some new items, or I could buy some spares of the new model, which looks much better than this. But I shall decide when I come to modify this. And also, the filler gauges were fitted much later in their lives, so they would not have had any level gauges on the water tank or the fuel tank during this period. The final change I may make is with the windows. I think they're, even though they're described as flush glazed, they are a bit too recessed. So I may have to produce some separate glazing for each window aperture. So that'll give you some idea of the changes I'd like to make to these models. And for the most part, for 25-year-old models, they are still pretty good. It's just that for my era, they don't quite fit. There are some changes that I'll need to make them more appropriate. And there are one or two areas which are a little too crude for my own personal tastes. So I'd like to fix those areas too. And I'm sure the new Bachmann and the Sutton Locomotive Works locos are absolutely brilliant. I'm sure they are, but I just cannot justify the prices that they are selling for. That's my own issue, not theirs. So and it would give me something interesting to do. So as I said, this is a first in a mini series, and I'm looking forward to showing you the next one, which was also my joint favourite loco. Okay, thanks for watching.